media literacy. And friends, as you know, that media literacy has assumed immense significance, particularly in the wake of infodemic, what we call an overdose of information, and particularly during the corona pandemic, you had WHO Director General, the UN Secretary General, the UNESCO Director General. They were all, in fact, saying that this infodemic is far more dangerous than even the pandemic, because of the fact that you are flooded with information that perhaps you are not well equipped to handle. So that means even the illiterate or semi-literate population, in developing countries and even in developed countries, they are exposed to a huge level of distorted, manipulated, doctored content that can really tear apart our social fabric. And particularly in the domain of public health communication, you also find that a lot of misgivings we have seen about the corona pandemic. Like Professor Chaudhary, I was also on the WHO expert panel regarding the pulse polio communication, and I remember we had gone to Western Uttar Pradesh, we had gone to Hooghly district, long back, when particularly what were called the polio resistance areas. Now, these polio resistance areas, you had people who were ill-informed, misinformed, and at that time there was no social media as such. It was more by the newspapers, So let us not blame only the digital media for fake content or fake narratives. The so-called mainstream media was equally responsible for that. And I remember how we, had to really combat. There were conspiracy theories that this was meant to target a particular community and that this was to reduce the fertility rate among a particular community. This was the kind of narratives that were being sold, and that this is an American conspiracy and all that stuff. And as a result, India could not become polio endemic free for a long time because of this resistance. And finally, after a lot of work by WHO, by Rotary clubs, and of course the government of India and the state governments, we were able to overcome this. We utilized the services of at that time what is called community influencers, social influencers, including even the religious preachers, including the local doctors, and we were able to overcome this menace. But the same thing we saw when it came to the polio, to the COVID vaccination also. We saw a lot of resistance, all kinds of stories, including that it could lead to instant death, it could lead to death after 1 year, it could lead to kind of impotency. These were the stories that were kind of made viral on the social media, and you had people actually, we had scenes where you could see people, even in our own state, who climbed the trees to escape the vaccinators, and of course these were not, very based on any just misgivings or misconception. They were actually, you have very strong lobby, particularly in the West, of anti-vaccinators, who are against vaccine intervention, and they have been deliberately lobbying against any kind of vaccination because they presume that all these vaccinations are a tactic of the pharma lobby. All kinds of conspiracy theories are there. So so in this context, media literacy becomes very important, and there is a very important need to distinguish between media education and media literacy. That's very important. Often we tend to confuse between the two. Media education is for those who want to pursue a career in media, whereas media literacy, every citizen who is exposed to media content has to be media literate, and they have to understand the dynamics. Like, it's like if you want, what is film appreciation? Film appreciation is not just watching a movie, but understanding a movie. Similarly, media literacy is not just watching, hearing, listening to media, but also understanding media, the dynamics of it, the economics of it. That's media literacy. The technology behind it, because artificial intelligence and a lot of stuff, virtual reality, augmented reality, animation, these are all which could perhaps mislead, and you see increased instances of cybercrime, of cyber bullying, of cyber pornography. These are all become, so it's not just media in the sense news media. When we talk about media literacy, it's about the technology that we are talking about. Then, so on that note, we have a very eminent panel with us. Let me introduce my fellow panelists. Dr. Shukla, Dean at the Delhi University. He's a very well-known face in media education, and particularly in Noida and Bhopal. Of course, we are joined by Professor Indraprastha, whom we have listened to over the last few days. We have Dr. Saxena from the DME and the brain behind ICAN, and we have Professor Chaudhary from Deakin University, well-known media educator who has studied both the industry and academia with ease, and also is Dr. Kiran Bala, head of the Department of Journalism at the Metropolitan International University. Let me, because you have already heard at least the four of us, let me start with maybe Dr. Shukla, and I would like to know that particularly in a developing country like India, how do you look at the importance of media literacy? Dr. Shukla.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. As you rightly said, that tone, so media literacy per se itself is very important. And I'm very happy, sir, that you made it very clear that media education will be I just wanted to say a couple of things as we get into this media discussion. One is, let me take all of you. Media literacy essentially is not the silver bullet. We often what we do is, and as somebody rightly explained, so much is happening, getting overwhelmed by the media, so much clutter on one side. Most important, everybody starts getting additional platforms for the bullying, and so many negative things which we are not about. It was always there. So rather than looking at the root cause of what is actually harming, what exactly is hurting the society, you immediately see media literacy and use it as a soft thing, because that's the easier thing to do. Also, one thing you have to keep one thing in mind is people, they interact with the media on this one story. The other is people interact with the society through media is another part of the story. So, of course, sir, like you said it, it's a very, very important piece. But there are different, what we call different legs to this media literacy. One part is, as you know, it's a very expensive proposition. Education today has become a very expensive proposition. We have to think of it, how much amount of time and resources we put in media literacy and what kind. Second is obviously we have to keep thinking is who is actually the target audience. Is it the students? Is it the government? Is it the parents? Who is exactly the target audience and what we are trying to do? And the third aspect which becomes simply important is we have to also keep in mind, because we are all part of society, the larger sociological aspects of media literacy have to be kept in mind. The reason being, some places education has a different kind of an impact on the society. And in some societies where the resources are not there, it has a different context and different conditions to it also. So we have to think of 2 or 3 parameters in which media literacy has to come in. I was very excited because in the first inaugural session, the theme itself was extremely inspiring when we talked about the culture, identity, and the movement. It is very closely linked to the fact of what we are discussing in media literacy. Because it's not a graphical, it's not a binary continuum that we talk about society, we talk about media literacy, we talk about identities and other things. It's all meshed into one. It's an important piece, no doubt about it. But I think what is equally important is before we delve and deep dive and start doing activities under the media literacy, is to actually understand this, maybe the sociological context of what exactly is happening, why some things are actually becoming more negative. And as many of the behavioral economists have said, or the scientists have said, the problem with fake news or frankly the problem with the misinformation is really not the content. Well, of course, content is bad, it's false, it's fake. But the problem is more the virality of the particular content. The more it is circulated, more it is linked, the fact that the lie actually becomes the truth. That's the nature of the human being. So we have to think in terms of different parameters on which this media literacy per se rests. And I think there are different aspects of it, and maybe as we go along, I will be able to throw some lights from my perspective.
Thank you, Divakar. When the virality of it comes into being, then you see that lie becomes the truth. So on that note, let me go to Dr. Indraprastha, because at her university we had a specific session on public health communication. In the wake of the COVID pandemic and all that, how do you think the ordinary citizen can be made aware of misinformation, disinformation, so that, because health directly impacts, unlike say a political, a fake content with regard to a political system, it has its impact certainly in a democracy, but I think that far more damaging to your own personal well-being is the fake content with regard to health. I would like you to throw some light on how we can educate, enlighten the masses at large on issues related to public health communication through media literacy when it comes to misinformation and disinformation. Dr. Kiranbala.
Thank you so much. I think Professor Divakar, he has already set the tone of this sociological context of media literacy. So when I say there are different parameters, there are different interventions that are being organized by various organizations, but here one thing that we need to understand as media educators and researchers, there are different age groups which require attention. I would say when a child is having a mobile in his hand and he is also consuming some media, a person who is 60 plus or 70 plus, he is also consuming media, social media particularly, through WhatsApp, through Facebook. So when he was talking about this health communication and misinformation and fake information that was revolving, that transpired on various platforms, these were the people, those who were affected a lot, because we were also getting calls from our family members who were away from us, and fathers, father-in-laws, they send messages, "Beta, start consuming these vitamin C tablets," because there is a slip by a physician from Gangaram Hospital. Gangaram Hospital is a famous hospital in NCR, in Delhi, renowned hospital. So because the doctor has said that you should eat these tablets, you should consume this daily, irrespective of the fact whether you are having any problem and disease or not, you should have it. This is good for your health. It will protect you from corona. So these are very simple things in terms of for citizens. It was like, okay, doctor ने कहा है तो ठीक ही होगा, और doctor ऐसे ही हो गया. So just follow it blindly. And later on, the future came from that hospital, and doctors themselves, they told, after first wave of corona, when people were consuming so much of that kava, सुबह शाम पीजिए, चाहे है या नहीं, because it will increase your immunity. It caused so many kidney and liver problems in citizens. They were not aware of this thing कि बिना problem के excess में काढ़ा कितना सुबह शाम 3 घंटे में 4 टाइम भी पीते, because it is protecting us. So what is that this from where the information is coming? So people need to understand, people need to apply simple common sense. Why will the doctor say कि आपको कुछ भी नहीं है तब आप ये लेते रहिए, अभी तक तो आपको किसी ने भी नहीं कहा. Whenever you visit a doctor, whenever you visit a physician, he never says you कि आप ये लेते रहिए अच्छा रहेगा. Any medicine, particularly. So one thing is that we need to focus on different age groups. I would say in terms of media literacy, vulnerable age groups. Older people, they are affected more. YouTube कह रहा था, मैंने YouTube पर सुना, वो बता रहे थे. So they don't know कि YouTube पर तो कोई भी कुछ भी कह सकता है ना. mobile in their hands, they should also keep a tab. They should also, make their kids literate about the kind of content they are consuming, whether it's relevant or irrelevant. It's fake, it's disinformation, it's misinformation. So there are so many areas where we need to work. And then as far as health information is concerned, for everybody, research scholars, faculty members, or the organization, those who are into planning of these interventions, how to make them literate about health information, source, how to validate the information, tools to validate, whom to trust, whom not to trust. So these things are very important, and simple awareness is really, really very important. That health literacy, that is coming from media, the information is coming from media, that is very important for all age groups.
Thank you, Dr. Kinwala. You have emphasized on the importance of particularly creating media literacy with regard to health. And now let me go to Professor Jyotika. And this time I would like to understand, like you have the dark net, you have cyberbullying, cyber pornography, and a lot of so the importance of media literacy, because we need to understand media literacy not just from the point of view of misinformation and disinformation, but also the kind of stuff that is being dished out through the internet and how it is damaging the children in a big way, because cases are being reported in India also, how adolescent, vulnerable children are being made victims. And in this context, we would like to know the US experience in combating, this fake content, this cyber content, and in how important is media literacy being seen in the United States. That's what we would like to know.
Thank you. So I will start with the last question, which is how important do we consider media literacy in the US? And I think it's extremely, extremely important. In fact, I teach a course in media literacy in my university almost every semester. And just on a tangent, I want to say that any change we try to bring about, especially, this is a massive problem, right? We all recognize it. It's a massive, massive problem. And so any change that's going to happen is going to be evolutionary, it's not going to be revolutionary. We are not going to be able to make this change overnight. It's going to take time. So in the US, in almost all the universities, in schools where children go, in adult literacy, we're talking a lot about the importance of media literacy. So it's definitely a very, very critical thing that we're discussing. In fact, one of the things that I'm trying very hard to do in my university is to make media literacy courses required across the curriculum. So every student in whatever discipline you are, you have to take a media literacy course before you graduate. I think that should become necessary in schools, and we should have adult literacy classes for that. So that's how massive this problem is and how much work there is to do. Now, in terms of what's happening, I'm so glad you asked that question, because in fact in my notes I wrote that down as what's happening in terms of cyberbullying. At DME's, at the ICAN conference in Delhi, I spoke about what's happening to journalists, the compromising, how journalist safety is being compromised by this kind of ability of technology to really create disinformation, cyberbullying, and so on. So I won't repeat that. It's just a very, very important question that we need to think about, especially in communication and journalism schools, or what's happening to journalists, right? The thing I want to talk about is, again, at a personal level. I have students, when I teach the media literacy class, at the end of the course, they all come to me, most of them, especially the girl students, come to me and they say, oh my goodness, I had no idea. I had no idea, and because I've taken this course, I'm going to change my social media habits, right? So this is what we need to do in our courses, is tell them about what the consequences are. Now, the consequences in terms of cyberbullying and societal consequences is, I'll again give you examples. I had a student in my class who came to me constantly. This was 3 years ago. She was from Europe, and she just couldn't get her coursework done, and she just, said, I go through a traumatic time. And one day she finally decided she had to tell me the story. She had a video of herself which was pretty risky, a risky video that she had voluntarily uploaded. Somebody decided in her class to stalk her, saw the video and started calling her and said, unless you do X, Y, Z, I am going to put this video on the net. And throughout the semester, she was totally distraught because she finally filed a case. It was a major issue. I can't really tell you what exactly was in the video because it's personal. But this is the kind of impact it can have, and a lot of young people don't realize that the things that they're posting on social media are going to come back and bite them one of these days, right? It's going to affect your job prospects, just in case you don't know that, right? You post something about yourself. Employers today are doing a Google search on you before they give you the final contract, right? So this is all the stuff we are talking about in the US constantly in answer to Professor Suresh's question, that we consider this an extremely big societal problem, and we're trying very, very hard to educate our students about it and to do outreach to adults as well as to high schools about the problem that was just talked about by Professor Bala, about children having, the parents use it as a babysitter, right? You give it to them so parents can do what they want to, and parents themselves, children model, parents themselves are constantly on the phone, Now what is another consequence? There's a New York Times article just in the last 2 days, which has set Britain to the perspective of the children whose parents use social media to actually trace all of the steps of their child's growth. And these children now are really unhappy with their parents because of their entire life having been from when they were babies on social media. They are receiving harassment now because of what their parents did. And all their parents are trying to do is, oh look, this is the life of my child, she's now growing up, she's doing this, she's doing that. Parents also need to be made aware of the fact that you post a picture about your child, it could be misused. Look at what AI is doing now. They could just use it for any reason, right? And I cannot therefore impress upon this university, which is a communication university, that you have to be in the vanguard to send this message across, to do outreach to schools, to make sure that every student you graduate goes through a very serious media literacy class. So this kind of eye-opening and so on is just humongous, as the young people in the university say. I will say one more thing and then I'll stop and if I have a chance I'll probably can about it a little bit. The kind of method I used to teach in this class is, just in case this interests you, is there was a Brazilian educator called Paulo Freire. I don't know how many of you heard of him. He wrote a book called The Pedagogy of the Oppressed. And in that, he talked about the fact that straight lecturing doesn't work most of the time, that you have to raise the consciousness of whoever it is that you're educating. He uses the word conscientization for that. And what I have trained now recently is something called the Harkness method. And that method is based completely on dialogue. And for a media literacy course, I can tell you that's a fantastic way of teaching media literacy, because the students I taught, social media is their life these days. I'm not just standing and lecturing to them about the harm of social media and of this kind of stuff, of not knowing what the consequences are. I have discussion, it's completely a dialogue. I wouldn't even call it discussion. There's a difference between debate, discussion, and dialogue. It's a completely dialogue-based class, and I would really encourage us to adopt that in this university. A very long-term impact of the use of social media is loneliness. You know, we think of immediate impacts. The Surgeon General of the United States is an Indian. His name is Vivek Murthy. Actually, his parents live in Miami, and I know that. And he has written an article recently that the biggest epidemic right now in the United States is the epidemic of loneliness. We need to start thinking about that in India too.
Thank you. Indeed, it's not just the school children, but we vividly remember how a very well-known journalist from a leading media house in India was made to believe that she actually had an offer from Harvard University to teach, and she actually resigned, and that somebody who was known for her very critical outlook, and one could never imagine she had the best of education in India, and one could imagine that that person, if that person can be vulnerable, you can imagine what about the common man. So this is something very important. I remember I've been calling for the need for a national media literacy mission, and with this teaching being embedded in right from the school curriculum, from primary school itself, we need to know. And another factor that's very important is, the psychological and sociological impact Professor Jyotika has dealt with is the importance of age-appropriate content. Because what is happening today is our children are getting exposed to a lot of adult content. And when I'm talking about adult content, I'm not talking about just pornography, but I'm talking about age-appropriate content, because they are maturing too early. They are not, I have, my relatives, my nieces, who at a very young age have been exposed to a lot of content which is impacting their natural growth, because they have come to know about a lot of things which they were not supposed to come to know at that particular age, because that has impacted their childhood, the way they look at people. So there is something called, and also the need for something called, we teach our children, both male and female, about the importance of good touch and bad touch. And I think that this is very important, that we also teach them about good content and bad content, or whatever name you give it. That's also equally important. Now, let me come to Dr. Amrish Saxena, and I would like to understand that how we can, apart from the school curriculum and stuff like that, how can we have this media literacy intervention to create awareness in the society? Unlike, say, in the United States, I'm sorry to say this, no governments in India, state or central, have so far taken any initiative with regard to media literacy. Everybody talks about it, but no concrete initiatives have been taken. Now, how can institutions like us, for example, I keep telling my NSS, National Service Team teams, and others, the community radio team, that, like you have, legal aid, which is mandatory for law students, because they provide free legal aid to places, localities around the university. So I said that let us adopt villages in the neighborhood of this university to promote media literacy. So can media departments take this initiative, and can we send a message through this conference that calling upon all media departments across the country to adopt villages, adopt localities in their respective cities to promote media literacy? I would like to understand how can we make effective media literacy interventions in the society. Dr. Amrish Saxena.
Thank you. See, I look at the whole problem from a different perspective. What happens, what I feel, having been into journalism and media education for so long, I believe there is some problem with our education system. Like talking about media education per se, the way we frame the curriculums and the way we impart education in classes, we are as educators and teachers, we are always in the preaching mode. whether to our students or even outside, we are organizing some sessions, some lectures, and it's always one-sided. And as Professor Jyotika was pointing out to this, that we have to sensitize the receivers. So this means there has to be something embedded in our media education also. The way we frame our syllabus in different papers, there has to be something embedded. And what we do, we have certain theory topics, certain practical topics, but then when it comes to real education, because media literacy it cannot be seen as a standalone thing. It is part of the education system, it is part of the media education system, so I don't believe that media education and media literacy has to be looked at two separate entities. So, because we teach laws, we teach ethics, but then when it comes to finally leading to understanding, the same students who we are teaching media laws, media ethics, they are always in the mode of forwarding messages. Why don't they understand? I mean, those who are studying, those common citizens who do not understand anything about media. So I can understand that those people do not have any understanding of media. But those who are studying media, they are also doing the same thing as other people are doing. So one thing that in our syllabus in media education, in all the papers, the things have to be embedded instead of prescribing something outside the syllabus. That is one. Two, I believe that the emphasis has to be on the ethical aspect. Ethical aspects means that we have to make the people understand what are the implications. And when I am saying this is not again for the common people. I am including the media professionals, the media practitioners. And I think many of you must be knowing that in gradually one after another, all media organizations or television channels, they have set up a separate unit to look after this particular aspect, to ensure the veracity of the content which is landing in the newsroom of a television channel, whether that is word broadcasting or not, or whether the content which have reached the newsroom are correct or not, are genuine or not. So this means the sensitization has to be there among the professionals who are working in the mainstream media, not only social media. Normally everybody understands that the problem is with the social media, but the problem is equally grave as far as the mainstream media is concerned. So the media professionals have to be sensitized, media students have to be sensitized, and the common people, the common citizens, they also need to be sensitized, the school students need to be sensitized, and we have to take up this all at different levels in different ways. The same method will not apply. And the legal aspect also has to be looked into. Ethical aspect simply will not help. So the legal aspect also has to be looked into. This means we need to, I would not say that we need to scare the students or scare the common people that if they are doing this, they will be sent to jail, but at least they need to be told the important provisions of the criminal law, the important provisions of the IT Act, that these are the provisions with regard to this is the provision with regard to this, so that they remain beware that they are indulging into any such content which can harm the society, but at the same time, those contents can also harm that particular person who are involved into this. So all these things need to be done, but definitely I agree with one thing, that this problem has to be addressed at the school level. And what I can tell you with my experience, I and Professor Ujjwal Chaudhary discussed this few years back. And 3 years ago, we conducted this whole course on media literacy for school students, and that was a joint collaborative thing that GME and Adamas University did. And we had this whole 10-year-long program, online program on media literacy, wherein we involved 3 institutions, 3 schools actually, and they are No, it was for 21 days or something. Yeah. So we did that, but then that was a one-time affair. We admit that we cannot repeat it. So that has to be a continuous exercise. It cannot be the one-time exercise. So this is what I think of this.
Thank you. So what Professor Amrish Saxena said in a nutshell is that that charity begins at home. So let us first clean up our own Aegean stables, and then we can get into the creating awareness in the society. And first let the Gangotri be clean. Then maybe the Ganga would be much more purer. I totally agree that our own media students, our own media teachers, our own media persons need to be sensitized because, as yesterday Professor Jyotika said, the producer of the content plays a very pivotal role in shaping public opinion. So now on that note, let me now shift to the technology aspect of it. We have been talking about the creative, the content. Now, Professor Ujjwal Chaudhary, I would like to know from you how tools like artificial intelligence can be utilized to kind of dilute the impact, because you see today a lot of media houses have their own fact-checking units. Google has a fact-checking initiative. A lot of initiatives are being taken. Now, in this regard, how can technology play a critical role in spreading media literacy and also in checking misinformation, disinformation, etc.? Yeah.
Thank you. A lot of aspects have been taken up, so there is no point in repeating it. I'll just say that there is a double AEC formula. To understand media literacy, the first A is access. So those whose media literacy we are talking about should have access to media, first of all. Now you'll say this sabke paas nahi hai. No, so everyone may have radio, everyone may have terrestrial television. A less number of people will have the cable television. Lesser number of people may have internet connection. So there are different access, and far lesser would be newspapers. So access is first. Then analyze. The capacity to analyze, and the next one is evaluate. That is where the fake content capacity comes in. So access, analyze, evaluate, and finally create. Now, at the point of creation, at the mass level, that may not be a major point. That's more for the professionals. But at the mass level, there is now user-generated content. So user-generated content must also adhere to certain principles, certain do's and don'ts. So this one I wanted to put at the beginning. Ability to access, analyze, evaluate, and create media content is a definition or an approach to media literacy. How content is constructed, narratives are made, motivations behind media, agenda behind media, right and wrong information. This understanding is media literacy. Now, how do we use technology? There are several things that we can do. Natural language processing, NLP tools. The NLP tools actually help us in understanding, analyzing the language used as to whether it is right or wrong, fake or not fake. So NLP tools is one. Image and video analysis tools. Our image and video analysis, for example, Microsoft Video Authenticator is there, which actually in Microsoft, image and video analysis they do. Even Google has that. I'll talk about that as well. So image and video analysis tools is another way of checking out fake content. I do not want to use fake news. If it is news, it's not fake. If it is fake, it's not news. We know that. Deep fake detection tools. So deep fake, my lip will be moving. You will hear a sound. Lip sync is done. Voice is mine, but what is spoken is not mine. And this is very dangerous. It can ruin lives of people, particularly dignity of women. It can ruin political leaders' careers. It can ruin business houses. A lot of things can happen. So deepfake detection tools, Sensity and Deep Trace. These two tools are there by which you can actually identify deepfake. More are coming as we go ahead. Reverse image search engines, we know that. reverse image search engine are quite popular because Google Factshala has brought it to every media education institute and to media houses. Bots and fake account detection tools are also there. Bots and fake accounts. Fact-checking bots. There are certain bots that you can use to check fact, right or wrong, which part of the history is there. Contextual analysis tools are there. Something is told. Is it connected to the context about which it is talked about? Many times found that a film shot is being taken and thrown into the public as a reality, where something negative is there. So contextual analysis tools, sentiment analysis tools, the sentiment expressed in that video can tell whether it's a propaganda or a reality. Sentiment analysis. Blockchain and digital watermarking. By making our content through digital watermarking, if it is made into a fake video, there will be traces of that. So if someone uses a genuine video for fake purposes, if there is this watermarking can help. Crowdsourced platforms, there are many. Facebook's deep fake detection challenge is there. There is one, they call it FDDC. So that is another tool that you can use. Google's Jigsaw. Jigsaw is very well known. Reality Defender. Then there are several other fact-checking platforms like Snopes. Snopes is well known. Factcheck.org. PolitiFact. There is in UK an institute called Pointer Institute International Fact-Checking Network, ICAN. This Pointer Institute has come out with a truthometer. You know, like you have peopleometer for TRP rating, truthometer, and that's the initiative is called PolitiFact. So that's another tool that we can use. AFP Fact Check. Then there are platforms in India like Alt News, like Social Media, Bookslayer, and many more. Boom Check. Then there are several reverse engine search tools like Keen Eye, Google. These are also there. Also, we need to mentor our students or learners, ourselves also, to understand by common sense. You know, by looking at the dress, the car numbers, the language spoken, the language in which the shops are written, many such aspects of videos, even without using any of these tools, a lot of truth can be found. I mean, whether the truth of that particular video can be understood. Even in Notion AI, Jasper AI, we can actually put false content and ask for the veracity of it. The ChatGPT 4, which is the paid version, also has a feature in which you can put a fact and ask the veracity of this. These being some of the tools, and I would like to note here that all media schools need to have media literacy in their first semester itself and teach some of these tools, if not all. I would like to also mention some very powerful courses are available online, some free and some for nominal expense. Coursera has come out with Making Sense of the News Literacy Lessons for Digital Citizens. It's talking about the so-called fake news and how to identify that, when and where it is used. edX has come out with a Media Literacy and Representation course, which is offered by University of Newcastle, Australia, which is another very good course on news literacy, media literacy in the context of news. Future Learn, there is another online course organization. They have come out with critical thinking at the university level, which is basically talking about communication literacy, media literacy by University of Leeds. Some websites are there. We need to really use these websites regularly. These websites also have the option where you can ask uploading a video or putting a content whether it's right or wrong. Depending on their ability and team, they also respond to that. The News Literacy Project, allsides.com, Snopes, which I already mentioned, Media Bias Public Fact Check, that's another websites as well. Some books are there, I'm not getting into naming books. Tom Nicholas' book, Stella Porter's book, Hans Rosling, very well known, Factfulness, that's the name of the book by Hans Rosling. So these are some of the books and many more are there. Madam Byotika, mentors, of course, on news literacy, media literacy should be obviously using many more sources while doing that. I will end up noting that, I really appreciate, I heard from a researcher here that you have started in the vicinity an intervention, media literacy intervention in the community. I'm really appreciating because everyone talks about media literacy, very few take any action, real action. So if the MCU has started in this one, right? Vision Kedi area, in the community here, they have started in the villages nearby, and media literacy initiative or intervention is a great appreciable thing. Now this idea of media literacy mission is a great idea. Waiting for the government doesn't make sense. So, for example, the two gentlemen on my side, one is the president, the other is the secretary of a body called Global Media Education Council, in which at least 200 plus media professors are connected with. So why not think of a media literacy mission on this GMAT platform, taken up by all the professors who are connected to this. Internationally also, some 12 nations professors are connected. So why not do that? And to develop a course or outline, I mean, Jyotika Madam's expertise is already available. So rather than speaking about it, let's do something about it. That's one. And let's list out, as I've noted already most of them, I'm sure there will be more, some sources, books, websites, fact-checking organizations, and AI tools. Can we make a list of that and make use of that? That's my appeal. Rather than just talking about how bad it is, let's do something about it. Thank you.
Now he has already elaborated on the various tools that are available. Now, because there is a paucity of time, there are many papers, many researchers who are waiting to present their papers. We have a lunch session also in between. I would not like to go back to the panelists once again. They have already explained in detail their take on media literacy. I would like to come to the audience now. We can take a couple of questions or interventions, very brief. Please give your name, introduce yourself, and ask the question or raise a point, an observation if you have, just few of them, because we need to wind up this session.
सर मेरा सिर्फ एक ही क्वेश्चन है कि जो पढ़े लिखे लोग हैं वो कैसे इस बारे में अनपढ़ हो जाते हैं?
Good afternoon everyone. I am Dr. Yamini from DLU Media School. My question here is not as a guest here or as a faculty here. I am asking as a parent. I have two kids. One is a teenager and other is going to enter a teenage soon. Loneliness, I know, I understand, because I see my son, he is always busy in his own world. He has his own convictions and his own things in his mind. I understand that after one time or after a certain time, he may feel बहुत हो चुका है about this social media. But we have not given the mobile and these things to our kids. It is because of the COVID that we are forced to give them this technology in their hands because we have no other choice. We have left with no other choice. Everything is nowadays also when COVID is not there, we are in the physical form, but still schools are again sending homework and their classwork and everything on these WhatsApp. We are following them. Even our kids are also today nowadays, they do not want to see at the blackboards. What they want is that कि आ जाएगा मम्मी के पास. Teachers also, they click the pictures. I was also clicking a picture of Sir's PPT. I don't want to write. So this is not a problem, I think, is only associated with the media education. I hope that I wanted to know that as a parent, what should I do? Only media education can help? Or if the media education can help, at what level, is it the primary level or a medium school level, we should start?
मुझे लगता है कि जब तक समाज में जो अभी भी पुरानी मान्यताएं हैं, अगर उन्हें नहीं खत्म किया गया तो शायद मीडिया लिटरेसी कंप्लीट नहीं होगी. जैसे एग्जाम्पल रूप में कि दिल्ली रास्ता काट गया, वो तो धीरे धीरे उसे खत्म वो चीज़ें हो रही हैं. या फिर मैं कहते हैं कि आज भी समाज में है कि अगर हम घड़वा लें तो शायद पीरियड से शुरू हो जाएगा, वो अभी भी है. तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि जब तक ऐसी भी चीज़ें जो अभी भी पुरानी मान्यताओं के रूप में बड़ी दृढ़ता से हमें जकड़े हुए हैं, जब तक हम उसे दूर नहीं करेंगे तो वो सारी चीज़ें कैसे जाएंगी, वही तो परेशान कर रही ना. तो मुझे लगता है ये सारी चीज़ें थोड़ी ऐड होनी चाहिए.
Good afternoon everyone, I am Prabhu Pandey. I have a question that it is regarding imparting media literacy amongst the students. So one big hurdle is that when we are teaching students who are born probably after 2000, they feel that they have grown with that particular media, and they find or they believe themselves to be 2 steps ahead of the people of previous generations. So in that case, any kind of literacy or any kind of delivery does not serve the purpose. So how to bring them to that level? Because whenever we are teaching subjects like new media, digital media marketing, or anything that is to do with social media and internet technology, the students are overconfident about their capabilities of using that particular media, thinking the teachers to be below them in terms of how it can be utilized. So how to break this how to overcome this hurdle, sir?
Good afternoon, sir. I am a media student from Jharkhand University, PhD, Rajan Thakur. My name is Rajan Thakur. तो मैं बहुत ही स्पष्ट शब्दों में एक चीज़ कहना चाहता हूँ, जिस मीडिया की आज तक हम लोगों ने अनदेखी की है वो है फोक मीडिया। लोक मीडिया या फोक मीडिया जो आज भी कंटिन्यू काम कर रहे हैं और अच्छी पारंपरिक सूचनाओं के साथ, पारंपरिक ज्ञान के साथ काम कर रहे हैं। आप देखेंगे विदेशों में भी पारंपरिक ज्ञान के ऊपर बहुत काम हो रहा है, पारंपरिक लोगों के ऊपर काम हो रहा है, जो देसी ज्ञान जिसको हम बोलते हैं। लेकिन आज हम भूल के जा रहे हैं। अभी सज्जन ने कहा कि हम दिल्ली के बारे में हमारे धारणाएं हैं। आप वहाँ पर पांडवानी की धारणाएं देखिए। मैं छत्तीसगढ़ की भूमि से हूँ, जहाँ पे पांडवानी महाभारत को ओरली रिप्रेजेंट किया जाता है, एथिक्स सिखाया जाएगा। वहाँ पर आपकी इलेक्ट्रॉनिक मीडिया की जरूरत नहीं है, ना किसी भी करंट की जरूरत है, लेकिन फ्लो हो रहा है, ऐसी सूचनाएं फ्लो हो रही हैं, वो बहुत एथिक्स है, एथिकल है। और आज भी आपको जानकर आश्चर्य होगा, करीब 50 से 60 कलाकार आज भी सर्व कर रहे हैं। उनको कोई किसी प्रकार से कोई फैसिलिटेशन गवर्नमेंट से नहीं, उनके साल में 200 से 300 कार्यक्रम हो जाते हैं, वो कमा रहे हैं और लिटरेट कर रहे हैं। बेसिकली हम जो इस चीज़ को भूल रहे हैं, वहाँ पर वापस हमको उनके ऊपर अध्ययन करना होगा। और जो फोक मीडिया है, प्रॉपर हर एक रीजन का अपना एक फोक मीडिया है, उसकी कैपेसिटी है। आज हम उसको भूल रहे हैं। मेरे को लगता है यहाँ पे बहुत ही अच्छा, अगर मीडिया लिटरेसी को अगर फोक मीडिया के थ्रू अगर हम देखें, वहाँ पे दें, तो मैन टू मैन वो डिलीवर भी होगा। और डिलीवर करने वाले लोग हैं, जो कलाकार हैं, उनको ट्रेन करने की जरूरत है। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
Good afternoon, all of you. My name is Deakin, and I am the faculty in ICAN department. My question is for Professor Ujjwal sir. Like you have spoken about so many AI tools and fact-checking tools. Like in your opinion, what do you think? Like what is the future of artificial intelligence in education as well as in research? So how do you see it? Do you think it has a bright and sustainable future? Like we have gone through many technology drastic change. So I just wanted to know your opinions. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Very interesting questions हैं आपके, and we don't even know if we will be able to answer all completely to your satisfaction. मैं सिर्फ एक बात कहूँगा, I think that's my personal belief. बहुत ज़रूरी है हमें समझना। हम लोग कई बार चीज़ों को, I mean this is a human nature, हम बहुत बार हर चीज़ को बहुत ओवर कॉम्प्लिकेट करते हैं, ओवर थिंक भी करते हैं। एंड जैसे मैम ने मॉर्निंग में कहा था, मैम यू वर सेइंग समथिंग एल्स, प्लीज अंडरस्टैंड एवरीथिंग एज अ कॉन्टेक्स्ट। आज हम मीडिया लिटरेसी की बात कर रहे हैं, दैट वाज द टॉपिक दैट वी वर डिस्कसिंग। मीडिया लिटरेसी का कॉन्टेक्स्ट है, मीडिया लिटरेसी का कॉन्टेक्स्ट है। अगर हमें कोई भी इनिशिएटिव लेना, आज अगर मैं ब्राज़ील में जाके अगर इसी बात को करूँ, और अभी छत्तीसगढ़ में जाके बात करूँ, या उत्तर प्रदेश में जाके बात करूँ, या केरल में जाके बात करूँ, do you think my messaging, my narrative, my metaphors, my examples, would it be different? Basic शायद messaging common होगी जो हम लोग decide करते हैं, but उसका rendition है, उसका expression है, manifestation है, वो different होगा, right? Same way you have to also understand कि evidence देने से हम, these are basic behavioral science theories. Evidence देने से आदमी का मन परिवर्तित नहीं होगा। If you give more evidences, frankly, the theories say and the science says, if the person becomes more polarized on the original opinion which she or he had. So evidence देकर कि आप ये गलत है, आप इसको believe मत करो, it is not going to work. And please understand the context. And I think he raised a very valid point. हमारा context, अगर हम urban की बात करेंगे, so शायद different हो सकता है, rural भी different हो सकता है। So all I would say as a starting block is, please understand the context of challenges that we face in media literacy. Who are the people that we are going to talk to? It could be a child, it could be a adult, it could be a woman. And इन्हें क्या बात कर लीजिए, but you go and talk to somebody else and what do they say? आप बड़ी-बड़ी बातें कर रहे हैं, हमारे पास खाने के लिए नहीं है. How are you going to convince that particular women about iron tablets and so? So context को समझना बहुत जरूरी है. I think that is one of the key skills that any communicator or media educator should have. Thank you.
Thank you. दो ही प्रश्न को ले पाएंगे समय का कम होने के कारण. एक है कि इतने सारे टूल्स कॉमन मैन कैसे यूज करेगा. हर चीज हर आदमी के लिए नहीं है. मैंने पहले ही बताया कॉमन मैन देयर आर कॉमन सेंस का भी एक इशू है. कपड़े देखकर, वीडियो देखकर कॉमन सेंस, वो कॉमन सेंस पॉइंट्स कॉमन मैन के लिए ले जाना जरूरी है. लेकिन यहाँ जो उपस्थित लोग हैं, ये इनके हाथ में संचार माध्यम का नॉलेज और व्यवहार करने की क्षमता है. इनको ये टूल्स ज़्यादा जानने की जरूरत है. ये पहला पॉइंट है. इन्फॉर्म टेक्नोलॉजी ड्रिवन अप्रोच कुछ लोगों के लिए, कॉमन सेंस अप्रोच मास के लिए. लेकिन कॉमन सेंस अप्रोच पहले हमें समझना है. हमें 10 पॉइंट समझना है कि जैसे वो जोर शोर से व्हाट्सएप पे आ रहा है कि जनगण मन को विश्व का सर्वश्रेष्ठ नेशनल एंथम बनाया गया, यूनेस्को ने ये बताया. अगर ये इतनी बड़ी बात होती तो अखबार में तो देखते आप पहले ना, किसी न किसी अखबार में. वही तो डाउट का क्वेश्चन हो जाता है. जो इतनी बड़ी बात है अखबार में नहीं है, केवल व्हाट्सएप में जा रहा है. ठीक है, ये हार्मफुल नहीं है, लेकिन बहुत सारी चीज़ें हार्मफुल भी है. दूसरा, ये गूगल फैक्टशाला जो प्रोग्राम है, इस तरह का इनफैक्ट मेरे हिसाब से स्कूल कॉलेज में इस तरह के ट्रेनिंग करने की जरूरत है. मॉर्फिंग होते हैं, चेहरे मॉर्फिंग हो सकते हैं. डीप फेक क्या होता है, 2-4 एग्जाम्पल दिखाकर बताना चाहिए कि जो भी चीज़ आपको मिले वो विश्वास ना करें. विश्वास उसको टोटली जाने बिना विश्वास ना करें. तो ये मेरा पहला पॉइंट है. आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस का जो क्वेश्चन है, ये आप पिछले 6 महीने से चल ही रहा है, जब से चैट आया है, कि क्या हमें आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस रिप्लेस कर देगा. हमें नहीं मालूम. गाड़ी, बैलगाड़ी को रिप्लेस किया है. कुछ चलाओ, बैलगाड़ी आज भी चल रहा है. पॉइंट है, ह्यूमन इंटेलिजेंस HI प्लस आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस AI विल बी लार्जर देन ह्यूमन इंटेलिजेंस माइनस AI. AI रिप्लेस नहीं करेगा, लेकिन AI जाने हुए व्यक्ति बाकियों को रिप्लेस करेगा. ये समझना जरूरी है. That's all.
Yes, I agree with Ujjwal sir. Common sense, because something which is very good, unbelievable good, or very bad, which is unbelievable, you should cross check it. Go to news websites. Simplest tool. There are many AI tools, news check, and then there are different tools for image check. There are tools for deep fake check. So for common man, it's very difficult to use those tools initially. But yes, common sense is the biggest tool that you need to understand. ये सब हो सकता है. इतनी बड़ी बात हो गई, जनगण मन टोपी आ गया, हमें पता ही नहीं चला, ना किसी अखबार ने बताया हमें. So one thing. Secondly, coming to Yamini's question, being a parent of these teenagers, I think one thing during this lockdown and this online communication, we forgot the physical conversation between different generations. We have forgotten those because we are not in conversation with our kids. So that's why they want to have more of their mobile and laptop. The same challenge I also face. But again, कन्वर्सेशन इज द सॉल्यूशन. आप बैठकर बच्चे से वही टॉपिक डिस्कस कीजिए ना जो स्कूल में हुआ. जब बच्चा आपको ये कह रहा है कि टीचर ने स्कूल में पढ़ाया, ममा आई एम डूइंग द सेम थिंग ऑन माय लैपटॉप, व्हाई डोंट यू गेट इन्वॉल्व इनटू दैट. सो कन्वर्सेशन इज द सॉल्यूशन. वो लोनलीनेस दैट विल बी इंक्रीज, लोनलीनेस एट डिफरेंट लेवल विद ओल्ड एज, लोनलीनेस एट टीनेजर. सो दीज आर टू डिफरेंट issues but have same solution of conversation.
So many ideas coming from the who is who of media education. I think that very important topics have been discussed. The importance of AI tools, the importance of using folk media, common sense, how to contextualize it, conversation. I mean, these are very important things which have come out, and of course the need for making national media literacy a movement, making it a part of the national literacy mission. These are very important suggestions which have come up. May I suggest to Dr. Amrish Saxena that maybe because you have done so many things which are different from the normal conventions, can we from this platform of ICAN, can we have an ICAN Bhopal resolution which will talk about the importance of media literacy? I think it is too important a topic. We can pass a resolution here incorporating these. Maybe a drafting team can be prepared, and that can, of course it can come a day later, that's not the issue, but we can draft on this point, and then these suggestions be shared with all media educator groups, with all media bodies in the country. We can plan it out, let there be a drafting committee, and let it go across the country. Let this message go across the country, across the globe, on the importance of media literacy. On that note, I wish to thank Dr. Shukla, Dr. Jyotika Ramprasad, Dr. Amrish Saxena, Professor Ujjwal Chaudhary, Dr. Kiran Bala for being part of this very important discussion. And I thank each one of you, all the faculty members, research scholars, students who are here and who have patiently listened to and asked some very relevant questions and made this session a very fruitful session. I congratulate each one of you and